Welcome to This Sacred Life in the Divine Feminine Spotlight. I'm transformation goddess, best-selling author, and award-winning producer Shann Vander Leek. Listen in for wisdom teachings and transparent conversations with soulful women about walking in beauty, reclaiming your feminine sovereignty, and celebrating the mystery and wonder of your sacred life. Welcome to This Sacred Life in the Divine Feminine Spotlight. I'm Shann Vander Leek, founder of transformationgoddess.com. The intention behind this podcast is to share transformational conversations with women who've learned to walk in beauty with the strength, courage, and pleasure of claiming their feminine sovereignty. And today it's my honor to introduce you to Yasmin Boland. Yasmin is an astrologer and moonologist who writes for newspapers, magazines, and websites, and she's read by millions of people each week. She's also the author of Moonology, Working with the Magic of Lunar Cycles, and several Hay House books. You can read Yasmin's horoscopes at yasminboland.com. Welcome, Yasmin.
Thank you, Shann.
It's wonderful to be with you again. I realized this morning that it's been 5 years since we met.
I can't believe that. I just can't believe it.
I know. 5 years since I stepped in for Karen Hager to interview you for her show. And then a couple years since we did a little project for Moonology. So it's wonderful to be with you again. Tell us how you became an astrologer and moonologist, or is it moonologer? Do I say
moonologer?
Moonologer.
Astrologer and moonologer.
Yeah, who now reaches millions of people every week. Like, did this ever occur to you that things would be this wild and wonderful for you in your profession?
No, it never occurred to me. It really did never occur to me. I mean, I started out as a journalist and a TV producer. So I did not expect to become an astrologer, let alone a widely read astrologer. I really didn't. And for a long time, I still called myself a writer. Like, people would say, "What do you do?" And I'd say, "I'm a writer," because at my heart of hearts, I'm a writer. But now I kind of say I'm a writer. If I'm in a kind of a more, let's call it holistic setting, I might say I'm a writer and an astrologer, or I might just say I'm an astrologer, but I never planned it.
Yeah, I wondered about that. So how long have you been at it?
Oh my goodness, like 20 years?
Yeah.
It just started as a hobby, and then because I was a writer, because I was a journalist, I actually put it out there to the universe. I did consciously put a call out to the universe that I wanted to write astrology as soon as I thought I was kind of ready to. And then that's kind of how it happened. I mean, it didn't happen just by accident, but it took over very quickly because I was, a journalist who could write astrology. There's not that many of us.
Right.
So,
well, and I enjoy your writing so much. Moonology.
Thank you. I enjoy writing.
Oh my goodness. Moonology is truly one of the only books I own that I constantly have my nose in. And I'm learning from more and more. And so it's just one of the, and I'm not just saying this because we're having this conversation and I'm interviewing you. It's true. It's in my hands right now and it's always available to me. And I've learned so much since that book came out.
Well, I'm absolutely delighted and I can feel your truth, Shann. That's very lovely. Thank you. That's exactly what I wanted for the book. I wanted to make a book that people would not just leave sitting on the shelves, forgotten once they'd read it once. And that's one of the reasons why I included the Daily Moon info in there. That was really my intention for the book. It even says it in there. My intention is that you will, keep this close by and refer back to it regularly and often. So you're doing exactly.
Yeah. Well,
exactly
it's lovely, and so I just wanted to say that, and as we segue into this conversation, I guess what I'd like you to start with is, how does working with your personal chart help you navigate through life-altering transformations? Because you do a really great job of sharing these forecasts and letting people know how to dig in and know what's going on. But I'd like to know how you do it.
Well, I think there's a time in many seekers' lives when they decide they want to understand their horoscope. And I think at that point, which I went through about 20 years ago, that's when I was all over my chart. Like I would be doing chart predictions even for myself, like when should I send this, or what should I say to that person and when, or whatever. And I'd be looking at the minutes, and I'd know I'd been obsessing if I saw seconds had been used in the chart calculations controller, but now I really look at the big picture. I mean, if something comes up, I'll look at my chart. But generally, I just kind of look at the big picture of what's going on, and I try not to obsess about it, because I think a lot of astrologers, when they first begin, I mean, you're utterly obsessed. Well, I was obsessed to the point of, mania, 4 hours a day or whatever. And, I've told this story before, but at the time I was working as a freelance journalist writing articles, and I started doing like 4 hours a day, 5 hours a day of astrology. So, I tried to kind of give it up, but it didn't work out. I couldn't quit it.
Right. Well, and I'm so glad that you didn't, because all of that obsession at the time has certainly been an investment in what you bring forward now and what you share with your following now, for sure.
Oh, yeah, totally. I mean, that's the backbone of what I do, And I mean, the thing is, I'm always looking at what's going on in the stars, because I'm always writing columns and horoscopes and so on. So I've just been looking at 2020. And, in terms of how I work with my chart, I've noticed that there's some things going on in 2020 which are going to really impact my chart, because they're, the degrees are kind of like in the same degrees as some of my own planets. And, in a way you say, how do I use it to navigate? Well, I kind of put that information in the back of my head. I just don't obsess over it anymore if I can possibly help it.
Right.
And I also strongly believe in conscious creation. So, I like to think, okay, if I see such and such is going on in my chart, I try and think, how could I actually, turn this into a positive, whether it's a challenging aspect or not, to use it to consciously create. I try not to give myself predictions, which is what I used to do when I first started, all the time. And what everybody wants all the time is predictions.
Right.
But I try to use it more for conscious creation these days than I did back in the day.
Yeah, that's a really healthy way to do it, because if you
trying to work out when he was going to call me or something.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
What can you tell us about what you see in the stars for 2019?
Okay, so as I just said, I've been looking at the stars for 2020, and I keep then I'm writing the stars for 2018. So I'm just going to quickly look at my list. Yeah, so in 2019, we've got eclipses in Capricorn, Moonchild, the sign I call Moonchild, formerly known as Cancer, Capricorn, and Capricorn. So we've got 5 eclipses. And we've got Uranus moving into Taurus. I know what the thing that's happening in 2019, Shann, that's really big, is that it's, in terms of manifesting, it's a very big year, because there's a lot of Jupiter square Neptunes, then Saturn sextile Neptunes. And basically what that is, that's about it can be used very much in manifesting, put it like that. Well, I'm really hoping, I know this might sound crazy, but I'm really hoping that in the near future, maybe by the end of next year, people are going to start taking this a bit more seriously. And I'm hoping that the Jupiter, Neptune, Saturn, Neptune energies next year are going to advance this. And the reason why they can advance it is because Neptune's basically the planet of conscious creation and manifesting. Saturn's the planet of reality. And so next year we're going to have confusion around all this kind of stuff, but then we're going to have learning and more solidarity. And I honestly think it's going to start to go a bit more mainstream. Maybe I'm
that
crazy.
Would be great. I
Call
hope you're
me
right.
Crazy, but I think it might.
Yeah.
I think it might. I think it's going to start being like, on those sci-fi programs, I don't know, I mean, I can't even think of one really, but set just a short time in the future, kind of, this dystopian type films that come out and so on. And that show Travelers, I don't know if you've seen it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, on shows like that, you could have someone who says their job is, my job's I'm an empath, and it's become a bit more accepted to say things like that. And I feel like what's happening is that it's going to become slightly more accepted, as it is in these sort of futuristic TV shows, to say, not just I'm an astrologer but to say, for example, I'm a healer, and for people to start to say, that's got validity.
Yes.
And, and to understand the ramifications of the fact that we can actually heal ourselves without drugs, and what that actually means in terms of, everything.
Sure.
And manifestation and so on. That, I know I'm rambling a bit, but I'm really quite into this idea at the moment that it might be about to start to go more mainstream. But I might be completely wrong. I mean, Oprah's pretty mainstream, and she still hasn't managed to convince the world, but I feel like it's going more and more mainstream.
So then overall for 2019, you see some opportunity to manifest more easily.
Lessons, yes. And I think people are going to start to understand how it works more, and they're going to see that it's real. These are all very Saturn things. But the interesting thing is that next year, the clashes, well, the alignments between Neptune are a clash and a click, and a clash and a click. So it's almost like there's going to be problems, and then there's going to be progress.
Right.
I might be completely mad. I know something. If my late father, who was a psychiatrist, could hear me, I think he'd probably lock me up. But I really feel like it works. I've seen it in my life, like every day.
Yes.
And I know lots of other people have, and I just feel like people have got to wake up to this.
Yeah,
and that's
what
I think. And a lot of astrologers out there will probably talk about other things when it comes to talking about the squares and sextiles to Neptune next year.
Right.
And Neptune's a very mysterious planet, so everyone's going to have a different take, and there's lots of different areas that Neptune actually covers. But for me, this is the one that's really kind of got my attention, put it like that.
Okay.
And then it's all leading up to next year, which is the year after, 2020, when we're going to get a whole alignment of planets in Capricorn, which is a very down-to-earth sign, which is very much about realities and ambitions and so on. But again, I think we're just in a really high energetic period at the moment, put it like that.
Yeah, we sure are.
If you're on the spiritual path, now's the time to stay conscious, and use the energies, tune into them.
Yes, I agree. I'm feeling pretty grateful right now to have Jupiter return to Sagittarius. I'm a Sagittarian.
Okay.
Yeah, so I have an Aquarian moon, and my rising sign is Scorpio. It's been an interesting year for me.
Yes.
and so to have Jupiter come home, I can feel it. And again, I might sound mad, but there are already things that are clicking as I'm paying attention. And
yes.
Right now, our conversation will be released after the new moon, so it will be the other side of the new moon. But just even reading through moonology and seeing, okay, how does that apply to my second house? And your conversation with me just a second ago about manifesting and all of the things that I'm already seeing that are in alignment. So here's to an interesting 2019 and 2020. For somebody who is new to astrology that's listening in, how do you recommend they start working with their chart? And second to that, how can they also begin working with the magic of the lunar cycles to create and plan their lives?
Yeah. Okay, so I honestly would recommend what I'm about to say to you, okay? And it might sound like I'm recommending it because it's my books, but, I've done them. And I will say as well, I've done a book I wrote for Hay House, which is called Astrology Made Easy. I wrote, and then I had two sort of colleagues, astrologer colleagues, look over it, who added sort of extra layers, because they were generous in their comments, and we added a few more layers. And I think I'm safe to say, even though my name's on the book and I wrote the book, I wrote, 99.9% of it, or 99.999% of it.
Right.
But I feel like the fact that these girls had sort of checked it and approved of it and added some more layers to it, I feel I can say without too much conceit, I think it's a really, really good book. I think what we ended up with by the time, everybody had put their 2 cents worth in.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had people saying to me, it's the first book they've ever read that helped them understand their chart, because it is quite complicated. But what I did was I basically made it so that you can go on the internet, and I've created a chart that you can download. And sometimes the server seems to get a bit overworked, I'm not sure, but usually it's working. And you can download it, and then you use that to work with the book. So it's really simple, and it's more or less how I learned. And I'm very much an astrologer of the computer age.
Sure.
And people like Stephen Forrest, who's a wonderful astrologer, always saying things like, get out there and look up at the stars. And I do get up there and look at the stars, but I also think of astrology as a cosmic clock. So sometimes it's literally the symbology is enough as well. So,
right. And so tell me the title of that book again.
Okay, it's Astrology Made Easy.
Okay.
And there's also a course that goes with that.
All right.
And you can get sort of the first 3 lessons free, and then if you like it, you can buy the whole course.
Oh, fantastic. We'll make sure that we have that in the show notes for today.
Oh, okay.
As well.
I'll send you a link. And, the thing is, once you do that, then you can do moonology, or you can go straight to moonology, which means you don't really learn astrology, but you'll learn how to follow the moon around your chart.
Right. Yeah, I've just found that I'm going to be a student of astrology and of moonology for probably the rest of my life and beyond. But I keep learning little keys and a little bit more information. And then, Yasmin said this, or, Kaipacha, somebody else who I like to listen to, and I'll go back and then I'll look at my chart and where is that? And then sometimes I confuse myself, crazy confusion. And then other times it's like, oh, well, that makes sense. My 3rd house is in Capricorn, or Capricorn is in my 3rd house, I should say. And then something will click. Or then I'll look at the planets and be like, oh, there's so many planets in that particular house. What does that mean? And then just kind of take it little bit by little bit. So it sounds like your Astrology Made Easy is a perfect companion to moonology. So I'll have to make sure I get a copy of it for sure.
Yeah, the thing is, there are so many different ways to learn astrology. Lots of very, very good companies run courses that you can do over a period of like 2 years. It's a really, really big subject, excuse me.
Yes, sure.
And what I can teach in Astrology Made Easy is basically enough for you to understand your chart. Have you read the book?
No, I haven't read that. No, I haven't read that book yet. I've had my face in moonology. I've had my face in moonology for 2 years.
Okay, well, maybe you're ready to go to astrology.
I am.
I'm not sure which people should do first, really.
Yeah.
I guess you can do either first. It doesn't really matter. But doing both will really boost your understanding.
Yeah, because I've been playing with my chart for years and years, and like I said, learning a little bit here and there. So to be able to get this would be great, and so I will. Like I said earlier, we'll make sure that we have links and things so that our listeners who want to learn more can do the same. At this time, I know you've been really, really generous over the years with love offerings and gifts, downloadable things. Is there something right now that you're offering to folks who want to get started?
Yeah, in fact, what I've been doing on my daily horoscopes is I've been giving something free every day. Just head on over to my stars on yasminboland.com and hit horoscopes, and there's a daily, it's in the daily moon message. There's a daily freebie depending on what's going on in the sky. So if it's a full moon week, we'll do something free for the full moon. It's just to get people who are interested, started. Basically.
Sure. Well, I knew that because I knew that you had many different, it seemed to me, I'm like, wow, she's very generous with what you share. And even if they're just downloadable worksheets, it just helps you get started.
Yeah, and you have to start somewhere, And like I said, I'm not joking when I say I really want to see this stuff get the recognition it deserves, because, we're surrounded by cynics and skeptics. And, I got told off the other day by a girlfriend of mine for dissing science, and saying, oh, those scientists, they're always proclaiming they know the size and shape of the universe, and then they admit they got it all wrong. And and then they have the temerity to criticize astrology, and they've never even studied it. I'm quite passionate about the fact that people need to study it before they diss it, because once you start to use it, it works.
And it is
that simple.
It's funny right now. My husband and my daughter, whether I realize it or not, I'm teaching them as I'm learning, because as I get new ahas, I'll share with them, or I'll let them know, hey, this is what's going on with the energies today. You need to be mindful of that. And I'm in a house with 2 Leos, and I'm a Sag.
Oh. Must be fun at your place.
Oh, they each want 2 spotlights at all times. So I have a wonderful place where I can love them and then gently creep away.
Right, yes.
Let them entertain each other, right? But needless to say, to be able to better explain what might be going on in those different energies. And sometimes the eyes will roll, but mostly not. And I notice that the more I'm at it, the more they're willing to listen in, and the more they might dig a little deeper themselves. So I think you're on to something with things becoming a bit more mainstream. I sure hope they do.
I really hope they do. I hope it's not a flash in the pan. I think the millennials have got astrology, so it's where they go with it now, I suppose.
So at this point, people can get daily messages from you at yasminboland.com, correct?
Yes, they can get the free daily moon message. I'm going to be adding meditations there quite soon, and they can get their daily, weekly, monthly, annual horoscopes on there as well.
And you have a saying that I'm not remembering, but I know what it means. For the good of all or not at all.
That's right.
Tell me about that and why that's such a big part of everything that you do.
Right, because I think that there's more to manifesting than I understand, and that probably most people understand. And I do understand that we need to manifest from our heart. That's very, very important. So when I'm doing all my moon manifesting, which is something that's a big, big part of my life and my work, I try and remind people they have to come from the heart, because if you come from the head, it causes problems.
Sure.
Or if you come from fear, it causes problems. So for the good of all or not at all is kind of a get out of jail free card that sort of is an insurance against, if I'm a bit like, that film Back to the Future where he's like doesn't want to change the space-time continuum.
Right.
It's a bit like that where, you need to manifest from the heart, because then what comes will be good. And for the good of all or not at all is a kind of a way of saying or nothing.
Right.
Because we don't know everything. I can't explain everything that I know even about manifesting. I mean, there's certain things about manifesting which I understand, but I haven't yet found a way to put into words, which are to do with karma and the other dimensions and so on. And I haven't even got to there yet. So it's just a way of helping people. It's like a protection in a way that, I only want this if it's good for everyone concerned. And if you don't say that, if you can't say that, then you probably shouldn't be making that wish or doing that conscious creation.
Mm-hmm. And remind me again, it's Om Namo
Nayarani. So that means I surrender to the divine, or I surrender to the divine mother. So you can say either of those.
I have it written down in big fat marker on a piece of paper on my mirror in my office, inspired by you.
Thank you. It's Sanskrit.
Yeah. It's beautiful. Yeah. It's beautiful. And I'll pass by and I'll be like I know I'm butchering saying this, but I know what it means. Nayarani. So I'm going to, and add it to my prayers. And anyway, so you've been such an inspiration in my life, and I know you have been in millions of others as well. So I really appreciate you taking time today to speak with me and to be part of this sacred life. And before I turn you loose, is there any message, overarching beauty that you'd like to share with our listeners before you get on with your day?
the thing that springs to mind is if you need some help, talk to your angels and also explore goddess energy.
Yes. Today's card was Lakshmi. I pulled right before we started talking.
There you go.
And
she's part of Nayarani.
Yes. And so she showed up, and I just cracked up because everything I had been reading about where the phases of the moon are and everything were all about abundance for me in my particular. And so I just laughed. And again, I'm having more of those moments where I just go, haha, like smile, nod, wink. Look at that. There she is. So we do a lot of work with goddess energy. And is there an overarching goddess energy or archetype that is showing up for 2019?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, I would say that the goddess energy would come through the eclipses.
Okay.
And I mean, I'm still sort of working with the goddess energy myself. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not really sure if I want to commit to the overarching goddess energy. At the moment, I tend to work mainly with Lakshmi, Saraswati, Durga.
Yes,
Durga,
me too.
as you're supposed to say.
Yes, Durga.
Yeah. Kuan Yin.
Yes, we are on the same page. They are my mainstay go-to goddesses.
Yeah. And I work with Ganesha a lot as well.
Me too. There's a little song that I sing around the house. Ganesha Shananam Ganesha. Again, my family rolls their eyes or sometimes joins me.
Yes, I had a big argument with my husband and son this week of saying, I don't want to feel like you're making fun of me when I do this stuff.
Yeah, right.
And when I tell you we should eat, because we're not vegetarian in this house, and I feel like we should be more vegetarian than we are for our health, if nothing else.
Yes.
And I've told them I've had it with every time that I want to cook vegetarian or vegan, you guys are making jokes about running out to the barbecue and putting some meat on there afterwards and stuff like that.
Yes.
So, and they took it quite seriously. It was quite a big thing. I was like, really, I'm not joking, actually. This is good for all of us, and it's good for us in so many different ways. So don't make fun of it, even though even my husband, he secretly knows it's all true. He can't. He's taken the blue pill or the red pill or whichever pill it is that you see that how it works. Even if he doesn't want to admit it, he can see it.
Right.
So, you know.
Yes. And we all walk on, right?
And we all walk on, exactly. And we just say our little bits and we go vegetarian for a bit more for a few weeks and then,
Thank you so much, Yasmin. It's always a pleasure to explore the stars with you and to get caught up. And I just deep bow to you.
Well, I mean, I am as much on the path of learning as the next person, Shann. So I'm glad if you say I've inspired people along the way, then I'm absolutely delighted. But I'm learning too, tons all the time, every day.
Blessings.
And to you.
Thanks for listening to This Sacred Life. If you like what you heard, the best compliment you can give us is to leave some stars and a favorable review at iTunes. And be sure to visit transformationgoddess.com to claim your free album of guided relaxations for women who do too much.